Stacy Abrams is America's favorite election denier, and she's denying them again. We'll get to that clip right after this one, where she explains how President Trump plans on being the king of America. Welcome to Doug and Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. I also have a small announcement about a charity I'd like to have you give to right after this clip. First, let's start right here with Stacy Abrams.
You send the U.S. Marines into spaces they should not be. You send the National Guard in. You kidnap people off of the streets and pretend that's normal, because that's how you quiet dissent, because you make everyone afraid that if they don't do what you want, they might be next. And once you've done those 9 steps, step 10 is easy. That's when you decide there won't be new elections, because everyone's either afraid, poor, broken, or complicit.
Is there any way that Americans would be so afraid that you could end elections, that they'd be so afraid that they'd never question canceling elections? This is, crazy, delusional. I don't know if she believes it or not. I can only say if she believes it, she's worse off than I thought. Okay, now let me real quick just give me a second. You guys know I don't read advertisements on my channel. So instead, I want to have you give to this charity that I support. I've been on mission trips for the last 3 years. This 4th mission trip, I'm working here all week so that you can support Rebuilding Hope. You don't have to even pay anything. You just watch this video, just watching the commercials on my 4 videos a day. You're paying me. All that money is going to Rebuilding Hope for this week. I'm also asking, this Thursday is my 59th birthday. So instead of giving me a birthday present on July 10th, I'd rather have you send some dough to Rebuilding Hope. Here's a quick clip. I'm just going to go over this with you since we go through our clips together this is our church, our team right now that is doing some sparkling over in Dalton, Georgia. That's Margie Taylor Greenland. That's Peyote and Andrew. These guys are all members of my church working. That's Josh in the background, one of the full-time pastors there. Some of your money will go to help underwrite his salary and pay for this equipment.
Who else wants to go?
Look, that's the beloved Miss Tenaple right there on the left with Josh. They're doing, they've got a level out and they're building a wheelchair ramp. They usually build at least 3 wheelchair ramps for the poor for free every year. And she's a mule, the beloved Miss Tenaple. She's cooking 3 meals a day for 40 people in our church. And then she goes out and works all day. And I'm sitting here working, making videos because I said, look, I'm going to be able to raise some dough and get it to the Rebuilding Hope ministry.
To the bathroom because I'm taking.
Look, isn't she beautiful? Married 35 years. It feels like it's only been 2 weeks. Okay, this link is going to be in the description, which will take you to the Rebuilding Hope website. It's just a give page. There's a give. We're using Zephy to donate, or down here at the bottom is what I recommend. Just use PayPal. You can donate. Pop in your credit card here, give an amount. And I have to thank some of you because some of you have given just tens of thousands of dollars over the last years, and I thank you for it. I don't make a dime. They're not taking your money. It is going to do the work. We do hard work. The beloved Miss Staple is there. My son, my oldest daughter, Ami, the nurse, is there doing some nursing. My oldest son, Ed, is there working. And my youngest son, John, who is now a pulley for the Marines, is there working. I'm just asking you guys, donate to that link below and help us out. And we'll get into a little more of that later. But first, we have to go back to Stacy Abrams and her lunatic conspiracy theory. Here's her 10-point plan.
When autocrats come to power, there's a 10-step plan. And we're at about step 9. So step 1, you have a free and fair election, but it's the last time. Because once that person wins, they don't intend to let anybody else or anyone else take the power that they have amassed for themselves or for their ticket. Second thing they do is that they exceed the realms of executive power. So you see a bunch of executive orders coming out claiming all kinds of powers that a president doesn't hold. Number 3, they then take the competing versions of power and try to either make them complicit or neuter them. So you have a Congress that basically has forgotten they got a job, and then you have a judiciary that's either complicit or neutered. And it's neutered because if the president, if the executive refuses to follow the rules, then you've neutralized the judiciary because the judiciary doesn't actually have enforcement power. Number 4, you go after the media. With the media, you make sure that you demonize and criticize the legitimate media so that nobody trusts it. And then you...
No one trusts the media because Trump started criticizing it. No one trusts the media. It has discredited itself for 30 years now. That's not Trump's fault, Stacy. But this is hilarious. I love listening to Democrats just go into complete fantasy land with their lunatic conspiracies.
An echo chamber so that the only truth that people hear is the truth you want them to hear, even if it's not truth. Even if you put truth in the name, it's not true. Then you start to gut government. You fire all of the people who know how to do stuff. You break democracy by making people think they don't need it. And the best way to do that is to make sure that the things that they've learned to rely on are no longer available. Because then you become the only way they get what they want. So you fire the CDC so that vaccine rates drop and the disease rises. You fire FEMA so that when there's a natural disaster, the only way you get what you need is by begging for it. So you gut the civil service so that no one can actually do the work that democracy is supposed to protect us for.
Are the black helicopters in the room with us, Stacy Abrams? This is like Ghost Stories 101.
At the same time, you hire a bunch of people that you call loyalists, and you put them in place so that they don't hire anybody who doesn't agree with you, but you also put them in positions of power. So then your next step is that you go after the people who do the good work. So you sue law firms, you sue philanthropies. Then step 7, you got to have someone to blame. They've blamed everybody. They've blamed women, they've blamed children, they've blamed people of color. They've blamed immigrants. They are doing all of that because they know at step 7, if you can push that forward, then we're fighting each other and fighting for survival instead of fighting for our country. And then you start to incentivize private violence. That's step 9. Maybe you send the National Guard and Marines and you militarize kidnapping people off of the streets, throwing them into detention camps, and then arresting people who dare to challenge you, calling any question obstruction of justice. Civic participation, the First Amendment, is the 9th category because if you can militarize your response, you also convince people it's not worth the possible pain of calling out the problems. And once you've gotten to step 9, step 10 is easy. You make sure no one ever votes again because now you've got them captive, now you've got them scared, now you've got them poor, and now you've got the power.
This is just so unhinged. I'm just kind of, it's like the wind is just blowing my hair back from all this air. I do love that she has, I don't know if it's 9 points or 10 points, that she kind of has a structure to her conspiracy, to her loony claim. Go crazy, Stacy Abrams. She's got her hair pulled back there, wearing a lovely, what is that, rotten banana pattern on her shirt there. Okay, and then finally, here she is politicizing, ghoulishly politicizing the Texas floods on that same ABC show.
What had just happened in Texas, the fact that they slashed the National Weather Service, whether or not that was the direct proximate cause of those deaths, the fact that we're having that conversation is the issue. The fact that we aren't sure is the problem.
We aren't sure, but having the conversation is enough guilt for her to blame Trump. Trump, who apparently now has godlike powers to create a storm and a flood. And no one at the National Weather Service, they all said they had plenty of time to put out their warnings. Trump did cut some jobs there, but supposedly it had no effect on the efficiency of that program. And that everyone's heralding the rescue work in Texas as being more effective than what FEMA did in North Carolina.
And so we need to hold to what we deserve. We should not be dissuaded, especially as Black women, as women of color.
How is color coming into the storm?
People of color. We should not be
It was all little white kids that were killed at that Mystic camp.
Convinced that we don't have power. They are mad at us for a reason. There are enough of us that we can change the outcome of elections, but also change the outcome of power.
Yeah, okay. It is true that there's enough people in any party to change the outcome of any election, which is why we have to keep these people, these totally unhinged people who believe Trump has the power over a storm and just the giant boogeyman of them all. I can't wait to find out what they're going to make up and say about J.D. Vance, who's like all-American, just kind of regular guy. They're going to be saying the same thing about him, that he's like orchestrating the end of free speech and is trying to stay in power forever. Stacey Abrams still stuck on her same shtick from 2018, 2020. What do you guys think? Does Stacey Abrams, does she have a future in politics, or is she going to remain on the talk show circuit for a a while where no one can hear her because their ratings are so low. I'm Doug in Exile. Give to Rebuilding Hope, please. Thank you.